Late Night Health continues. I'm Mark Alyn. We're going to be talking about probiotics during hour two with a woman who is called the mother of probiotics, and her name is Natasha. We'll be finding out more about Natasha and her background during hour two, and if you don't get hour two of Late Night Health, you can always tune to latenighthealth.com and pick it up there. We go to Dr. Greg Celaya, regular contributor here on Late Night Health. And Dr. Celaya and I were talking yesterday, and he said, have you done anything on autoimmune diseases? And I said, no, but we are now. So, Dr. Celaya, welcome back to Late Night Health.
Hey, Mark. Good to be here.
Good. What's an autoimmune disease? And let's name some if we can.
Well, it's an interesting thing because a lot of patients come to me as a result of basically being told they're crazy, right? They go to a normal doctor, and the doctor does their simple tests,
right,
and goes down the road and basically says, there's nothing really wrong with you because they haven't done the right tests.
Interesting.
And so we see them. They come to a point where they're at their last hope. And we do the correct testing to determine what's going on. And it's usually an autoimmune disease. And you can have symptoms anywhere from, fatigue, muscle weakness, swollen glands, inflammation. And here's something you asked about yesterday, allergies.
Right.
Digestive problems, memory problems, headaches, low-grade fevers. I mean, there's a lot of different things that it can manifest as.
I know that let's talk about allergies. Are allergies actually an autoimmune reaction to the environment?
Well, they can be. They can be. It's not necessarily always the case, but your body has a weakness that it's letting certain proteins into your system that shouldn't be there. So your body then becomes hypersensitive to those proteins in the future. And like I said, those proteins shouldn't be there. They're too big. They're not broken down.
And the body can't break them down or assimilate them.
Well, it's getting into areas, let's say, for example, I know we've talked about this before, but it gets into areas like your gut. You may have a leaky gut where the membranes are permeable to proteins that are larger than it should be, or your respiratory system, the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you can have autoimmune responses as a result of these issues. When your body has a response to these proteins, they generate antibodies. Antibodies are proteins made by the immune system that attach to affected tissue to tag it for destruction. So they will see this protein, they send out an antibody against it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what happens at that point is that if it ever sees anything that's like that, again, your immune system goes and attacks it.
And that's why you feel fatigued or sneeze or...
Well, yeah, but see, these proteins look a lot like your tissue.
Uh-oh.
And therefore, now your tissue becomes fair game for attack. That's what an autoimmune is.
So is AIDS an autoimmune disease?
No. Some people say there may be some autoimmune component to it, but no, that's more of a viral.
Okay.
But, you've got lists and lists and lists of autoimmune diseases. It's one of the major issues that we're dealing with at this point.
Well, I know that, chronic fatigue syndrome, which a lot of medical doctors poo-poo and say there's no evidence that even exists, or it's hard to diagnose. Fibromyalgia, I think, could be one.
There is some possibility, but they're seeing a lot of fibromyalgia. Fibromyalgia is basically pain. People are in a lot of pain all over the place, and the new research is showing that it is neurological. It's brain-related.
It is brain-related, okay.
But that doesn't rule out autoimmune issues of the brain. See, if you're going to go to the most doctors and they even suspect an autoimmune issue, they're going to run a simple test of that tissue they suspect being a problem. Well, you've got a lot of different tissues in your system.
Right.
That can get very, very expensive, and you may not hit it right. So you have to know what you're doing as far as when you're ordering tests looking for autoimmunity. And there is a great screen that we use at this point that tests for a lot, basically 24 different tissue samples against autoimmunity in your body.
So do I have to give you 24 different tissue samples?
No.
Or just blood?
No, they have those samples.
Okay.
And they test your body's issue with those samples to see if there's an immune response. And it's a phenomenal test. It's just really huge when it comes to autoimmunity. Because if you were to do 24 different tests, it costs you a fortune.
Absolutely.
This makes it a lot more feasible, but yet you're testing stuff you never even thought about. I mean, basically we can test for, stomach, intestinal, thyroid, adrenal, cardiac, neurological issues, reproductive, bone, liver, brain. I mean, it just goes on and on.
Well, you just said something to me. You just said cardio. There's an autoimmune cardio symptom?
Yes. Yep. It's not super common, but you can have an autoimmune cardiac issue. And that's when your immune system starts either attacking heart, arteries, whatever it may be.
And destroying it. By attacking, it's destroy. It's seek and destroy.
Right. And the reason that most doctors don't do any testing or don't even look at autoimmunity because they don't offer treatment for those issues. They just end up treating the condition once it gets severe, perhaps maybe with steroids or other types of things. I treat those conditions before we end up with some severe problems, though I do see a lot of severe problems. But you want to know if you have an autoimmune response now. You don't want to wait till it gets full-blown and your body starts eating itself alive, so to speak.
Which is incredible. Our guest is Dr. Greg Celaya. He is not only is he a doctor of chiropractic, he has a master's degree in nutrition and several different, certifications in a variety of nutritional healing arts would be the way to put that. So if I came into your office and asked for these tests, is it expensive?
Considering what you get, no, it's not that expensive. With me, I do every single test I would ever expect a patient to go through on myself before they do it.
Okay.
And I've had this test done on myself as well.
Wow.
That's how important I think this test is.
And your family as well.
They don't cut me a break on this test at all. I pay for it myself.
And what about insurance?
No.
Insurance won't pick it up.
They may pay for some of the tests. I highly doubt they're paying for this test because usually insurance is going to pay for some simple, real, easy tests, nothing complicated or advanced. They're not there. So people want health. They have to pay for their health.
Absolutely. It makes sense to me. But if somebody comes into an office and says, I'm chronically tired, always tired, your first reaction would be take this test then.
Well, I don't know if this would be my first reaction. I mean, if they're chronically tired, the first thing I would check out is thyroid.
Okay.
And the number one reason for a low thyroid is an autoimmune disease called Hashimoto's.
And almost everybody has heard of that.
Yeah, a lot of people have.
Disease, yeah.
And that's an easy test. That's a simple one to do. But here's the deal. 70% or more of people that have one autoimmune disease will have more than one. In other words, your body is more likely to go ahead and not stop at one place of eating your body.
So it's attacking you.
It's great if you have one autoimmune disease to continue on to find out if there's more.
And give me an average cost of the test, a few $100s?
I don't know. I think it's close to $500. I'm just guessing. I'm not 100% sure.
But if you're in pain and suffering, this seems to be it's a drop in the bucket.
It's a drop in the bucket because by the time I'm seeing these patients, not all of them, but by the time I see a lot of these patients, they spent thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars, and their life quality is it's nothing.
We are talking about quality of life because if you have an autoimmune disease, the quality of life is less.
Right, and whatever day you feel bad, that's one less day of your life. You're not getting it back. One day, in my opinion, is priceless.
It just occurred to me. We talked. We were talking with our physical therapist a few minutes ago during our last segment, Rick Olderman. We were talking about headaches, and he was explaining that a lot of headaches can be caused from shoulder and neck pain or neck problems, and especially in traffic accidents.
Sure.
Do you personally? I asked Daryl. Daryl doesn't get a lot of headaches. I get headaches every couple of weeks. Are you a headache sufferer personally?
The reason I got into my profession is because I was a migraine sufferer.
Oh, wow.
And this profession saved my life, without a doubt.
Amazing.
Without a doubt. The chiropractic care made the hugest difference. I was to the point where, just put me in a hospital or give me a gun and it's over. That's how bad it was for 3-4 days.
You were a young guy in your 20s.
It was terrible. Terrible. Absolutely terrible. The worst things I can even ever describe to you, and if you've never had one, you'd have no clue. And so chiropractic made a big difference, but also autoimmunity was responsible as well.
Autoimmune caused the migraines?
Yes.
Oh, my. Our guest is Dr. Greg Celaya, a regular contributor to Late Night Health. We're talking about autoimmune diseases. You can join us at latenighthealth.com. Join our conversation and learn more about what Dr. Greg does by visiting us at Late Night Health and clicking on our contributor tab, and you will find Greg there. In our next couple of minutes after we come back from our break, I want to talk about what to do if you have an autoimmune disease. But how do you know if you have one? I mean, how do I know that I should go to you or a doctor of any kind? And I suspect that there might be something wrong. What would be some of the symptoms?
You now or after the break?
No, now.
Oh. Well, it's like I said, fatigue, muscle weakness, swollen glands, low-grade fevers, headaches, memory problems, digestive problems, allergies, weight loss, weight gain. It just goes on and on. There's a lot of symptoms, but usually they're unexplained.
And
right?
so
it's like, well, I can't tell you why you're going to feel better in a couple of weeks and you don't.
Got it.
That's what the majority of doctors will say. Just give it a couple of weeks, you'll be fine. You probably have a virus.
Got it. And it's just, and that we hear that all the time. Well, Greg Celaya is our guest. He's a nutritionist. He has a master's degree in nutrition. He's also a doctor of chiropractic, and is a good friend to Late Night Health, and we really appreciate him here on our show. Coming up in hour 2, we're going to talk about two things. Probiotics is one, and the other is we're going to meet a brain coach. Never interviewed a brain coach. Life coaches, yes. Swimming coaches even, but never a brain coach. That'll be happening in hour 2, and again, you can get that at latenighthealth.com. You can join the conversation there. By the way, like us on Facebook. We've had a lot of new Facebook likes in the last week or two. We appreciate that from our friend Kevin Stern. Go to facebook.com/latenighthealth. I'm Mark. We'll be back. Don't go away.
You're listening to Late Night Health with Mark Alyn. The show continues in a moment.